with why is it that countries like France continue to own or control or to have this kind of like leash on countries that it somehow took control over in the past and want to continue to suck its resources out?
Because of the bilateral agreements they signed with them.
Yeah.
And I think that should be updated as soon as possible. And we were talking about this, a room a few days ago. And we were actually my friend was there. We were talking about also the right of birth, and how the reunification of families. And we were digging a little bit into the history specifically between France and Algeria. And it's actually very disturbing. Maybe in the past it worked well, because France needed also workers and there was kind of like a very close collaboration. But at this point, it's just a one-way street. And the problem is that they're fucking up everyone else around France. So yeah, I think that these things should be reviewed, should be revised, and it should be done something about it.
That's why you have a French Foreign Legion walking around the streets of Strasbourg. You'll just pay a visit and you'll see French Foreign Legion.
Well, that's fine. That has nothing to do with anything.
Okay.
Oh, of course not.
Hold on, I think Bert wanted to say something, and Michael.
It's very brief. It's 30 seconds. It's just not one way. It's one way in terms of immigration, and I agree that immigrants are damaging France. I understand that. But we also must not forget that France issues currency for the Saharan countries that they control, which means they print money out of the resources from those people, and those people still have to pay coins.
Yes, it's neo-colonialism.
So the colonialism is still there. That's
not new.
Still profiting from those. So
what does colonialism have to do with anything? Zionism, colonialism, this is just a bunch of nonsense.
No, this is straight up colonialism.
Frederick, did you understand what both want to say?
I don't think Frederick understands these things. They're above his head.
Because Frederick, what he's saying is that France is still profiting from these countries.
Okay.
And therefore...
And they're also servicing these countries, right? They are... Here's... Two things. One, realpolitik.
They're not, bro. They're literally not. I don't know.
Are you aware of it?
Let me explain.
Realpolitik.
First thing I want to say, realpolitik, the reason you're talking about the French Foreign Legion is because France still has a military. They are entitled to their view because they have guns. A.
Correct.
B,
yes,
B,
I support the French Foreign Legion.
Let me explain the uniqueness of the French perspective. France, as a language, overthrew the conquerors that conquered the land. French are entitled to their weird perspective on colonialism. And though the English have changed their mind about colonialism, the Dutch have changed their mind about colonialism, the Spanish and the Portuguese, all of them have adopted different techniques of colonialism, and we're still dealing with the repercussions of those choices. France, realpolitik, they have their own army, is entitled to look at colonialism the way it does. If they want Haiti to pay them in response to the French citizens that were slaughtered in the Haiti Revolution, we as Americans can straight up disagree, say that's not the way to look at things. But France, with their army, is going to look at it the way they want.
I support the French Foreign Legion.
Wait, may I just explain, because I think it's misunderstanding here. There's misunderstanding. Let me explain to you what's going on. I issued a currency for everyone in this room. You guys can only use my currency. And whatever resources you have, I pay with that currency. And you have right to no other currency. So that's what's happening today. So France goes to those countries in Africa and say, I want your cobalt. I'm going to pay with the currency that I print out of thin air and give it to you, and you have to accept it. And everyone in your country has to accept and use the same currency. We have no right to your own central bank and to your own currency. That's what's happening.
They pay in euros.
Hold on, Michael, go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, I'll say a few things.
France pays in the euros. The African countries, Niger, Michael. Sorry, go ahead. King.
Pay with
My bad. Excuse me. King.
So I agree with what Marvin said a while back about the Ukraine Russia war. It concerns all of Western Europe, and no country in Western Europe can say, well, it doesn't affect us. But with immigration, it's a little bit different because I noticed in this room there are two different points of view on immigration, right? There's some people in this room who are looking.
My darling, I'm so happy you're in love with me. Not many women are comfortable or confident enough to be in love with Judas. But Judas wasn't that bad of a guy. He was necessary. He was a necessary evil. He did the right thing. He did what Jesus needed him to do, just at the right time, at the right moment. Anyways, I'm glad you're in love.
We didn't create this problem. Why should we have to take any of these people? And Norway's not a member of the EU. They chose to not join the EU because of that. And so there is a point in respecting that. And the last thing I'll say is just about the French currencies issued in Africa. In Africa, a lot of the countries, frankly, they have not been managing their currencies properly. Like, you've got countries where there's rampant inflation. And to be perfectly frank with you, I think a lot of people in those areas are actually happy to take the French-controlled currency. So I don't feel as if it's impressive.
What is this? We don't know.
You are not aware of any political developments over the last 5 years, and it's clear, bro.
Dude,
Have you heard about Mali, Burkina
it's
Faso, Niger,
real
by any
politics.
chance?
If you could push France, you would. If you haven't, you can't.
They are literally doing that in Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger.
Okay, so
And
hold
it's
on.
caused major problems for the French economy because now they have to pay 4 times the amount of money for the uranium. Also, France directly controls the currencies of these countries because they imposed the franc, which they don't even use themselves anymore. France has been paying in the euro, but they imposed the franc on these quote-unquote post-colonial countries.
You have to realize that from
Your
the
statement
French
makes no sense at all.
they're their companies, their organizations, and they're issuing the stock certificates they value in those regions for their purposes because they feel they built the damn thing.
Yep.
So it goes from the beginning of time. I mean, from the Mesopotamia, when the trade was invented, it wasn't really about, for the whole history of humanity, it was about trade. It was one of the things that happened when people started trading in the early dawn of our civilization. So when we reached out to other places around us and we started trading, the Dutch, the Portuguese, the English, the French, it was all about trade. And you guys seem to be missing this point. We're still doing the same thing. We're still trading.
Again, this is why I said none of you on this stage knows what you're talking about. I'm sorry. First of all, so some people who say that the CFA is good or bad, they could be right. For example, I am from Nigeria. They said the West African countries who use the CFA use it as a hedge against the Naira. And let me explain to you. So when it favors them, they complain about France and the CFA. But when it doesn't favor them, they try to use the CFA as a hedge. It makes no sense that Cameroon, again, at least you guys should read, and white people should read more and know about this to talk about.
Why should I know about Cameroon?
Okay, can you shut up, man?
Interest me.
Can you please shut up? Can you please shut up, man? I don't like
You're making a good point that
Let
Africa
me
is not
finish.
like
I don't. So Cameroon.
Cameroon is hedging its bets with
Like
France.
that. Come on.
Can I finish, guys, please? Now let me explain why Cameroon is a unique country. Cameroon was technically not colonized by the French, it was colonized by the British, which is why it's a member of the Commonwealth. But the currency the Cameroonians use? The Cameroonians use the CFA. That doesn't make any sense. Why would a country that was colonized by the British, right, still be hedging for a currency other French colonized nations use in West Africa, Benin Republic? And speaking French, by the way.
Maybe because of the colonial history of some of their neighbors?
Yeah, fair, that could be part of it. But I'm saying that the people don't get me wrong.
Again, it's about trade. They trade as a currency.
Oh my God, can you stop interrupting? You're not
That's what I'm saying. These African tribes or nations or kingdoms have existed just as long as France has. Like, they're not new to this game.
It's not about trade. It's not about trade. Can I finish, please? So, if you know what is happening, in certain regions of old Nigeria, they were using other currencies. Now,
quiet. Now, the problem is they used, as somebody made it here, I think it was Max said, they used the French as a hedge against bigger countries. So what they do is that if they feel that the Naira is going to be strong, I said, you know what, let's stick with the CFA. Now, when they want to complain about France interruption, France colonization, they say, oh, the CFA is bad. Why are the nations not coming together and say, does it make any sense that you have to go to France to print out your currency? That doesn't make any sense. Now, we can blame them on colonization, but they pick and choose whenever they want to use those terms. Now, what is the solution for me? Let the CFA stop being the dominant currency in the Francophone countries, especially those in West Africa. But the question we are going to ask ourselves, which is a very painful question, is that what would happen to those economies that have built themselves around the oligarchy and monopoly of France? Will they survive if the CFA is broken down? Are you?
Yeah, I agree.
See, I think it's really only the Americans that can plead ignorance on colonialism, right? It's not like the old world. No, I'm serious. The old world has seen Alexander, Caesar, Rome, Byzantine, Asia, India kingdoms. I don't think that the old world is what? Colonialism? Where'd that come from? Only the Americans really get that as a claim. The natives here, they just had no conception of what the West was capable of. But the rest of the world, they always were. They were playing the exact same games.
You're either strong or you're not. Everybody's playing the same game, fair and square. Whereas the biggest
the Americans genuinely were ignorant. They didn't know what the heck was going on in London.
Yeah, dude, listen. If the Americans weren't to lay these underwater fiber optic cable lines, I would assume that we wouldn't be having this conversation at the moment. Yeah, I mean, presumably it takes a little bit more than coming on here and, crying.
It takes more.
River,
what takes more?
Laying fiber optic cables under the seas and the Red Sea or whatever.
Oh,
so
that's
we can connect to the
guys
internet.
In big conference rooms.
Yeah, colonialism. Cry louder. Yes.
Colonialism?
Yeah, I'm
I don't understand. Wait, hold on. I don't understand what laying fiber cables.
Internet, iPhones.
He's trying to troll, but I feel like he's lost his breath.
What does that have to do with anything?
Cars, underwear.
Okay.
Look, these things take a lot of hard work. We can talk about it all day long, but there's somebody doing all this hard work.
I can explain what he's talking about.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
What he's trying to say, and I could be wrong. Look, I wanna say something that maybe is gonna explain this. Laying internet cables are done by private companies, not by governments. If you're defending that France provide these X, Y, Z, this is the private sector looking for a new market. There's no cable that is laid under the sovereignty.
And if the currency happens to be francs, that could work out, right?
Excuse me.
For you,
Those cables.
Hold on. Let him finish. You guys, come on.
Those cables are owned by private companies, with the exception of China. I do not know any other country that lay internet cables. The infrastructure that you guys talking about in
Okay, get to the point. Okay, so private companies own cables. Okay, what's the point?
That's exactly my point, Marvin. They are saying that those private enterprises and structures built or brought to the country is brought by the government. The government doesn't build anything. Those are private companies. That's all I want to say. Then my claim there.
That's the point. I still don't understand the point. So what?
Well, you're for strong.
This is era of skepticism where people deny the existence of a state.
You're
Okay,
for
but
strong.
just tell me critic up front. What's your point, and then back it up.
Okay, the bluff, right? Up front.
Yes.
You want strong central federal government telling you how to do these things. We don't want that because you guys are retarded.
No, that's not.
I want to talk about the.
We're
the
wrong
African
because we're
currencies
dumb.
again. What I wanted to say.
Who's the we man talking about, Frederick?
Is the Democratic Party building Audis, BMWs, buying?
Oh my God, the Democratic Party with the
Porsches?
van.
Okay, anyway, let's get back to the more serious stuff. Hello. And Georgia. Hello. Gosh. I'm not going to say anything. Look, back to the core issue here, which is imperialism that France has positioned or placed against countries within Africa and how it impacts immigration. That's the real conversation. Okay, let's not get sidetracked.
Oh, good. So what I want to say about this is that I think that there was this debate a moment ago, because I said the thing about how the countries have adopted the CFA franc and all that in Africa, and other people were counter-arguing against me with the imperialism.
Well, I don't think they adopted it, Michael. That's the problem. I think they were.
Well, hang on. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
What I would say is these two things can be simultaneously the case. It can be a situation where, France is benefiting from exerting control in this situation, right? And they guarantee the value of the currency as long as the central banks of all of these countries keep some of their foreign reserves in the French treasury, right? So it looks a bit exploitative. But simultaneously, these countries, these sovereign states, right, like Burkina Faso or Niger or Mali, they could pull out of it if they wanted to. And so they choose the stability because you all understand how incredibly bad it is to have unstable currencies.
But Michael, I don't think
are you aware of Mali at this point in time?
Yeah, hold on, Michael. I don't think they're choosing. I don't think the countries. Hold on. Hold on. The countries aren't choosing to stay in these situations. They have been forced. They have handcuffs on. So it's not really a buy-in option. Let me give you a story, please. Again, I'm West African from Nigeria. Okay, go quickly. Let me tell you why am I agree with you that they are forced. They also use it as a hedge. And I'll give you one. When we wanted to create the ECO, this was when I was still a diplomat. ECOWAS is a unit. ECOWAS is the sub-region of Economic Community of West African States. When they wanted to create a sub-region, do you know what these countries did? They went to France and hedged the CFA against the Naira. Nigeria is the strongest country in the ECOWAS sub-region. There are only 4 English-speaking countries in ECOWAS: Liberia, Sierra Leone, Nigeria, and Ghana. The Francophone countries, minus the Portuguese-speaking Sao Tome, and Cape Verde, went and hedged the CFA and said the currency should be related more to the CFA because of France. So that thing died because the French colonies wanted to hedge their CFA against the Naira. Because if it was left to the cities and Naira, they are much stronger. 2, there's something we signed called the International ECOWAS Trade Liberalization Scheme, which allows countries within the ECOWAS sub-region to sell goods produced in ECOWAS countries in other nations. The French-speaking countries went again and hedged themselves against the English-speaking. So why am I agree with you that they are being held in a chokehold? At the other side, they use it as a hedge against other countries that don't use the CFA. That's my point. So while I might feel sympathetic to them, they also use that stability for nefarious activities that favors them. Thank you very much.
Look, nefarious activities are always going to exist, but that's an interesting point. And if you could just speak a little slower and a little less loud, it'll probably be easier for us to understand. Your accent is very heavy, as you are aware.
That was a line from Sahara. They had it as like a running joke that nobody cares about Africa.
Is that the Matthew McConaughey movie?
Yep. With Steve Zahn, and that British guy played the African warlord.
Let me tell another story, if you don't mind. So, Marvin, let me
slow
ask you
down.
a question.
Just slow down.
Okay, yeah. Let me ask you a question. Do you think that America is not an imperialist nation? Let me tell you what saves America from all this crisis France is going through. It's just geography. Simple. Geography is. Let me explain to you. So if you know how Africa is, again, for people that know these things.
Africa is a mess.
Yeah, hold on, no. I'm not even talking about that. Yeah, to say that. But if you look at where Niger is. So from Niger, you enter Libya. From Libya, where do you go to? You enter the sea. And you come to maybe Italy. Or you go through Morocco. So it's easier for when this crisis occur for them to go to these European nations. Now, don't get me wrong. If the European nations wants to pay the Libyan armed guards and the Libyan naval ships to kill immigrants, I don't have any problem with that. I mean, not that I believe that white people are not capable of doing that. They can do that. But we have to look at why France, Europe will suffer the consequences and America will not. Because America is just too far. You can barely be on a lampoon boat and come to America. It's too far. So America enjoys the geography of some of the failures that they've done. Example, the Middle East. Now, America's own crisis is simple, the border. I mean, you don't have people that really come and have genuine bad intentions to kill your country. And if all these border people you guys cry about were like maybe the immigrants that come on the ships and come to France, I think America would change, but they're not like that. So those are the consequences, or will I say advantages America has that is just too far. But France itself has created certain problems that other European countries will have to suffer. But the question is, and I'm not going to lie, is let's be fair. Some of these problems in these countries were not created by France. They were created by the people. Like the crisis in Niger. Again, I stand on my foot 10 toes down. That had nothing to do with France. Why? Because the current president, and Niger is a country I know very, very well. I've been there 5 times. 5 good times to do work. The current president cannot tell me he's not a corrupt person. Tiani is his name. He was the presidential Gaza Brigade General. This is a man that that collects bribes from the French government. So what politics, what theories we come to mind to? It's all a power tussle. Those countries, Niger, Burkina Faso, Mali, as far as I'm concerned, they are failed countries. Whether they isolate themselves.
Can we go back to talking about internet cables?
Okay. Can you please shut up? Let me finish. I've been there. You don't know those countries.
You know, it's exactly like Frederick was saying before. What Africa needs is a strong federal government.
So let me finish that saying. So you have an example of right?
Internet.
Can you white people please keep quiet? You don't know what you're saying.
Oh, that's racist.
Dude, what's with you with the black and white thing? I mean,
hold on. Ever since I moved to America, I became race conscious. Now, you see why I don't like arguing with you guys. It's very strange.
Listen, the fact that you're black doesn't give you any. Hold on. The fact that you're black doesn't give you any priority in describing the mind and going on stuff. So, please, can you land your plane quickly, Audie?
Okay, let me finish. People have said offensive things about Africans here, and I didn't interrupt. So me saying white people is not a problem. But let me move on. So this idea that those countries, Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso. Maxwell, let me finish. Let me wrap up.
On the continent.
Can I finish, please, Maxwell? Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso.
If I had $1,
Can I finish? Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso have all had strong leaders. They've all had people that were military men that ruled and nothing happened. Now, let me tell you why I'm not happy about what happened in Niger. Niger is so close to Nigeria. Quickly. David, what's wrong with you? Niger is so close to Nigeria. What the United States and the French army were doing is what I support. They were fighting the Islamists. Now, my own is I fight Islamists. My job is to fight Islamists. I don't care if I support white people to do it. If they are fighting Islamists, I'm with them. Agadez, Google this place. Agadez provided an opportunity for the American army to stop the Islamists. The Nigerians cannot stop the Islamists. Now, Agadez is a shithole. They have Islamists controlling tons of land and spaces. I wonder what will happen to Nigeria because it's so easy for them to just come through. They have shared borders. Thank you very much.
I was about to shoot your plane.
Honestly, if the Muslims want Africa, they can have it.
It's not yours to give.
Oh, I have no dog in this fight. My people have never been near Africa.
I thought your people were in Egypt. That's part of Africa.
Egypt is as little African as you can get.
Well, if you look at the map,
all right, hold on. This room is not about Egypt. That's fine. We're gonna. This room is about. Hold on. Calm down. Everybody, just calm down.
The Mediterranean belongs to the north.
That's fine. That's fine. Okay, all right. Look, you guys. I don't know why the same players, Odion, Mexed, David, and now Yakubu, want to behave this way.
really said anything.
That's okay. I'll help you understand how you're behaving. Because it just gets frustrating, right? We have this great conversation and then people just can't participate. And it's just like, just waste time. So anyway, back to the
Immigration.
well, part of immigration, but what I want to introduce is I want to understand what people believe is the result of yesterday's election in France. Like, how does that, first of all, who is more knowledgeable than me, because I know nothing about the election from yesterday, can give us a quick rundown on what exactly happened at WTF? Anyone want to lead talk?
Were the Africans not following the French politics?
I follow all politics, man, more than any other person. I follow French. I mean, I went to France 5 times.
That's fine. But can someone answer my...
Leave boogie, what a loser.
Why do you think God doesn't still use that manna from the sky to feed all those starving children? If he could do it very...
I can answer that question for Roland. Roland, you are a moron. It's called a metaphor.
No, I don't see none as a metaphor. I see it actually as a real thing that happened. And the thing is that, you know, there's people that can be cut off from man, and there's people who have an abundance of it, right? And so a lot of it has to do with different. There's a lot of factors. It's not one factor, but everything that we receive, like if we go to work, we may think like, oh, I worked, I made money, but really, it's really like that allotment of wealth or sustenance, whatever you call it, that was given to you by God, right? And so that's what the mind was training the Israelites to be able to understand, that everything they received is from God, everything they received from the heavens, as a preparation for going into the land of Israel, which there's an abundance of physicality, right? So you had to learn that principle while out in the desert. So really,
my question is more so like, we have like children who are like orphaned and starving to death every day, right? And I'm saying like, if it doesn't cost God anything, he can't just feed them on as well.
So on that point, so that goes back to like a fundamental principle, which is like, what is the purpose of life? Like, why are we here? And in the traditional belief system is that every soul comes into this world, you know, for a purpose. You know, every soul in this world comes to this world and has a certain correction. And so the reality that we're born into, no matter what it is, no matter how crazy it is, how dysfunctional it is, that reality that we come into is the most perfect reality for ourselves.
Well, that's pretty fucked up though, right? Because I mean, presumably, like a 2-year-old or a 1-year-old dying of starvation and like horrendous pain. Starving isn't a fun thing to die from, right? Presumably, right? They don't have the ability to learn from that lesson, so they're just, you know, they're dead at like 1 year old.
No. Again, it goes back into the dominant entity is the soul, right?
No, I get that, but they're not having any character development. They're not learning from the experience. They know pain from the time they're born, and they die in pain. So I mean, that's asking to say that like other people are learning.
But you're saying, number one, what I'm saying has nothing to do with making the effort to help people in need. That's number one. So I'll make that clear. But the point that I'm saying to you is, we can't look at reality and use our mindset and say, oh, because I think this is how this should be.
What other mindset do you have access to?
Huh?
What other mindset do you have access to? So you're saying you can't use our mindset, but you don't know God's mindset, so you just mindset are using to evaluate.
No, we do have a directive in terms of how we should focus our mind, and we do have directives on how to understand the different life scenarios that exist for various different people around planet Earth. And we should fight to help people in need. We should fight for things. However, we have to understand that every condition, every situation that someone's in is perfect for them. Now,
that's bizarre though, right? Because again,
it's bizarre because you're using your intellect.
Well, then what other intellect do you have?
Hold on, Roland. You're asking a lot of hypothetical questions. You're asking question after question after question. It's just not a conversation, Roland. That's not a conversation.
It's a fair question.
Wow.
why didn't God provide them manna?
Well, it's just to say, like, I've heard this criticism, I've heard this response to this criticism before, and essentially, like, what you're providing is, like, the NPC directive of God, right, where it's like, well, these 2-year-olds can get fucked, but the people around them are going to learn from this experience, because there's no, like, character growth or change that
Roland, he's saying he has exclusive material. He has exclusive documents that these people don't have, and thus that's why their lives are in shambles.
But it's just to say, though, that there's no, like, growth. The 2-year-old and the 1-year-old.
You don't know. You can't say that. You can
dying. I absolutely can say that. I'm explaining how. Right? I was literally saying because, and then you said you can't say that. What I'm saying is that the 2-year-old, right, doesn't have time to develop that character growth. Right? They don't even have time to develop their personality. So I don't know how you. I mean, the only thing you could say is something like maybe they're more used to pain, but they don't get to even utilize that being more used to pain because they're dead. Right? It's not like they're growing from the experience and changing as a result of it. So at best, all you could say is that the people around them are learning from the experience of the 2-year-old dying in pain, right? Which is fucking horrendous to do. So like, I'm going to harm a child to teach somebody else. Right?
That's not what I'm not saying that. So you still need to go.
So what growth is the 2-year-old getting if they're dead?
Okay. So the point is like this. And I see where the dilemma is. The dilemma is that you see pain and pleasure as coming from 2 separate entities, right? And pain and pleasure, both in our tradition, comes from the same source. And so the aspect of experiencing pain is just as much a part of our growth as experiencing
but they're
pleasure.
Not growing, they're dead.
No. The point is no. But what I'm saying to you is saying
what's growing though? They're dead.
If you want to hear, I can explain. Right, just like you said to me, right? And so the way that we understand it is that the soul is here for specific corrections. So if I go through a life, say a guy goes through a lifetime and, he starts, 15 businesses and none of them ever works, and he goes his whole life barely making any money, right? But through that process and all those failed experiences, I know you're going to say we're talking about a 2-year-old, right? But through all those different failed experiences, that person grew in very specific ways that he wouldn't have grown if he had a ton of success.
Like you're not making sense with the hypothetical I provide. You're not even responding to it.
I'm trying to get to it.
But again, you're talking about an adult again. I'm saying.
No,
So the 2-year-old soul needs the experience of shooting themselves to death.
You don't want to hear what I'm saying.
But I want you to respond to the specific. I want you to respond to the specific. Buddy, listen. I want you to respond to the specific hypothetical.
No, you want to control me.
I'm talking about
your approach come out.
No, because this doesn't answer the question. Right?
No,
you're talking about somebody.
I will get to the question.
Can I just provide the distinction because what you're saying isn't making sense to what I'm asking.
You should let me finish what I'm saying and then respond to what I.
So again, respond to it. Not a grown person. We're talking about a 2-year-old dying of dysentery. They're literally shitting themselves to death. Respond to that specific one.
I'm responding, and I'm asking not for you to try to impose control over me. You asked a question.
Well, just don't talk about the adult.
I can respond the way that I want to.
I mean, you can respond to something you have to ask. That's fine. But
that's part of
I'm gonna have to just ask it again, I guess.
That's part of free will, right? And this ability for me, I have the ability to express myself the way I want to, right? So what I was saying was, again, a person who comes into this world to correct a certain aspect of their soul, right? It's called tikkun, correction, right? This person can start 15 businesses, and all these businesses can fail, and someone can say, like, you know what? This guy learned. This guy failed in every business they did, right? That's how it looks to us, right? But on another level, that process that he went through with all those businesses and the different forms of victories that he had and the different types of growth was exactly what his soul needed in his lifetime. So in the same way that a person may come into a lifetime and just experience a year of immense pain. It could come after the end of 40 years. It could come at the end of 1 year, whatever it is. But they're going through that and going through that process at different conscious levels, right? Because a person could have it as a child, someone could have it as a teenager, someone could have it as adult, whatever it is. That experience was exactly what that soul needed for this glimpse of time to finish off spiritual work that they weren't able to do in their prior lifetime. You understand? Because this is an ongoing thing.
So just to clarify, and make sure I'm hearing this correctly. So the 1-year-old needed the experience, right? So all they did was they were born, they cried, they breathed, they ate, and then they shit themselves to death via dysentery from dirty water and not enough food and not enough nutrition, and they died in hell, right? In wait 1 second, in fucking horrendous pain, right? And that's what that soul needed, just to be born and die in horrendous pain from starvation.
In that lifetime, and then they go to another lifetime and they have another experience.
No, but what's the learning experience? It's just pain. It's just torture.
But in order to understand that, we would have to understand all the prior lifetimes of what that soul experienced, and then from there we can deduce why God felt it was important in this particular
to torture somebody
to have this type of experience, right?
Torture. And that's what it is. It's torture.
Yeah,
because again, that's what it is, right? It's torture.
Okay, yeah. And God chose for us someone to experience that in this lifetime.
To torture somebody.
To be tortured, to torture, it's all connected to.
So you worship a being that tortures babies.
And creates them too.
That's horrible.
Yeah, he creates them. He gives them life.
To
He
torture.
sustains their life. That's how you're saying.
You just agreed to it. You said yes. You needed to torture that soul. That soul needed to be tortured.
That soul, yeah, exactly.
That's terrible, dude. I don't know why. I truly don't understand why people worship beings that openly admit. 1 second, they openly admit that this being tortures their children, and they're like, well, it's.
But he creates all the children in the world.
I wouldn't if I had the ability to create life. Let's say I had the ability.
Not just life, everything that exists, even your ability to.
No, I understand, but let's say I had the ability.
Now, there's permission was given in the heavens for you to breathe. Right
yeah, but I'm just saying, as a human being, even I understand this, right?
Yeah,
let's say you tell me what I'm going to say because you keep interrupting. So
I'm just saying you're only able to breathe because of the same.
So what was I going to say out of curiosity? Because you interrupted me 3-4 times.
No, I'm saying to you, you only can breathe because of the source.
Right, I get that you said that. But my point is this though, is that presumably, let's say I created some new life form, right, with sentience and thought, and I would recognize that just because I created this thing doesn't mean that I have agency over it. That this is the life, right? This isn't something for me to manipulate and harm and do things like that too. It's like this weird special fleeting thing that's applied to God, and it's just bizarre to me. That's why generally I think that when people are invoking God in these senses, it's like a might makes right argument, because there's nothing intuitively moral about that. The idea that a being would torture a child, right, and that would be necessary, right, to torture and make somebody die in horrendous pain for no reason, right, or at least no discernible reason, right? It's all this appeal to ignorance of, well, there must be a reason because God does good things, but there's no kind of discernible reason that we can identify, right? But yet still there's this worship of this being that we know is at least torturing children, right? And then the question is, why is he torturing children? And the answer is well, God's ways are higher than ours, which really isn't an answer for anything. It's just an appeal to ignorance fallacy. So it's where are we going with this, right?
Yeah, but the thing is, at the end of the day, listening to you, it's some people say, and people have said it to me, why bother trying to teach people who are not Jewish?
Not an answer to anything, man.
Right? No, but I'm serious. They say that because there's the idea that you don't really have the intellectual capacity to even understand.
Yeah, it's just an ad-hom. I mean, I definitely have the intellectual capacity, but you're not providing.
No, because you're trying to use it. You're trying to use some little base academic logic, deductive reasoning to understand.
So invalidate it.
No, but I'm saying to be able to understand something. Just for perfect example, I'll invalidate you really quickly. Okay, because this is not a challenge. Okay, I'm just saying I'm collecting data on this app about how to engage people in a conversation, but I'll do it. So do you accept quantum physics?
I don't know enough about quantum physics.
Okay, you don't know that. Okay, so quantum physics teaches the idea. It says that the human eye, right, sees less than 1% of reality, right? That's what the human eye does. The human eye sees less than 1% of reality. And not only that, the human eye doesn't see anything. The human eye absorbs light particles, and those light particles go into the back of the brain, and that's where images are formed, right? So the reality that we're experiencing in terms of imagery is connected to information of sound and other senses formulating an image. So quantum physics is also saying that there's a whole 99% that's happening around us all the time. And, they call it string theory, these different points around it, whatever. But there's energy vibrations, right? So you have like molecules, electrons.
Why are you bringing string theory into quantum physics?
Because quantum physics, because string theory is a base principle that quantum physics uses to.
No, string theory is something that is first of all is theoretical, not in the sense of like a scientific theory that's derived that is basically a fact. Well, string theory is largely rejected, right? As something that doesn't have a basis. It really doesn't have anything to do with quantum physics.
Fair enough. But the point is saying there's an understanding, right, regardless of what science you want to use or what scientist, is that there's a reality that we cannot see around us, right? We cannot see through the five senses. We cannot connect through the five senses, right? We have, there's a lot of different ways to explain this idea, right?
Are you just trying to get to the fact that we can't see all the reasons that a god might want to do this? Is that really what we're bloviating for right now?
No. And so the thing is to say that, so this idea that if I accept right now that I have limited ability to see what's going on around me, how do I engage into this 99% that's happening around me, right? And then even when I look at myself physically, right, I can see someone else's body, right? But we have a belief that every human being has a soul, right? And so this concept that a soul exists inside of a body, right? So when a body's dead, there's no soul inside of it. And so this idea that there's a soul is also a part of this understanding that you maybe learn out in quantum physics, right? That there's a whole 99% connected to the human being that we can't see. So
it's not an argument, though.
I'm not making an argument. I'm just creating a premise.
But there's no premise here. All you're saying is that there might be things we don't know. Sure. Okay.
No. I'm not saying that we don't know. I'm saying that we're functioning in a world that we're only seeing 1%.
Yes, there are things that we don't know about our reality. Sure. Okay.
Okay. Fair enough. So the point is saying that understanding of how to engage into that 99% reality, this is the system of the Torah. This is why God gave us a Torah, because we are supposed to engage in the physical and
So you just did exactly what I said you were going to do. I said, so you're doing all this posturing simply to say that there are reasons that he's doing things that we don't understand. That's literally what I just said.
I'm talking about the.
You're saying that we can't discern the why in these things. No, that's fine, but.
No, you're going somewhere else.
So then just put it so logistically. You don't have to do it in this long drawn out way. Just premise.
What I'm saying to you is that you are not experiencing full reality if you're not connecting your soul to that 99%.
That's not an answer to anything that I said, though.
Okay.
It's just you saying again, like, look, respectfully, each answer that you're providing to what I'm asking you is just an appeal to ignorance fallacy. You know what that is, right? Like, it's like you saying that you have knowledge on something on account of the fact that you don't know why, but you're saying that it functions this way just because, right? But you can't justify it. So you're just like, well, I believe that this God does these good things. I can't justify that this is actually the case, but I'm going to assume it regardless and use this for my answers going forward. Right?
Have you ever looked at a welder, like take like a piece of metal and then put it over something very, very hot, and he's like banging it in these different directions, right?
Sure.
And then from there, in shape is created, right? So what I'm saying to you is saying that the development of the soul, like I don't know what the welder is going to make at the end. I don't know what it looks like. All I know is that it's hitting in this direction, in that direction, this direction. It's leaving on the fire for this long. So, but it's molding it into a shape. So unless he told me ahead of time what he was doing, I'm just walking in, looking at what's going on.
This is exactly what I'm saying, though. What you're invoking is an appeal to ignorance fallacy again. This is the fourth sentence.
Okay, but what I'm saying is saying that
you're just providing different analogies to say the same fallacy over and over again.
Okay, but the point is to say.
But because you get what I'm saying, though. When I'm saying you're invoking a fallacy, right? You do understand that.
No, but the point.
Like this is a defined logical fallacy. It is, though. I've explained to you why.
Can I tell you why it's not a fallacy?
You can try.
because you don't have enough of a background for me to explain that concept.
Yeah, it doesn't follow. But so
it just doesn't, because it's not elementary. I mean, you could. So when
no, I do it. Again, you keep saying he's like, I'm not saying anything about your knowledge, right? All I'm saying is that the answers. Look, the only thing that we could work with one another on, right, is exactly what we're speaking about and the words that we're using. For you to keep like appealing to the fact that you're assuming I don't have such knowledge, but each time, Rabbi, each time, look, I'm starting to think you don't have the knowledge because each time I'm asking this question, right, and I've told you the specific fallacy you're invoking, you're saying the same answer again.
I'm not.
Different.
I'm not. I tried to get you
You're saying the same thing again, but with a different analogy.
No, I'm not. The first time I
God, you're giving me AI, you're giving me quantum physics and string theory. You're all over the place, but you're still not answering.
I'm not. I'm trying to understand your intellect. The point I'm saying to you is, I told you in the beginning, when you see a child, okay, or anybody that's innocent going through a horrific experience and that soul leaves this world through it, they had to go through that as part of their experience in this lifetime. That's all I'm saying to you. And then you didn't want to accept that.
I'll say.
You didn't want to accept that. So then
what I'm asking you is prove it. So you're saying that you know a thing in virtue of what? Right? Because you've read it and you believe it to be the case. I'm saying, what is the utility that's being derived from torturing a baby? Right? So you're just saying that soul just needed a little bit more torture to be in the right shape?
At that lifetime, yeah.
Does that not sound fucked to you?
No.
So that God needed to torture this poor person's child just enough to fix the soul, how to make it shit itself to death and bleed to death out of the rectum, just enough to fix the shape.
It's just funny hearing like you people like talk like they had to do the rectum and they had to almost die.
No, but the reason I'm using this language isn't simply
because your basis point isn't strong enough.
I'll explain.
And God takes it away. He takes it away.
Yes, I understand.
Okay,
Look, the reason that I'm using this crass language
is mediocre. It's mediocre.
Well, no, it's not that it's mediocre. I'm trying to explain why. The reason that I'm using
I know why.
Why?
Because your point isn't strong enough.
No, that's not why. The reason. No, it's not about sensationalizing. If you'd allow me to explain, I'd answer the question for you. The reason that I'm using the crass language is because absent that kind of language that really makes people focus on the reality of what's happening, they can just dismiss it as, well, a life is being taken away or something like that. And they use these kind of like these vague waving of the hands to say, well, things like this happen, right? But when people are really forced to focus on the immense pain and the immense just disgustingness and the immense just meaninglessness of this experience, right? This horrifying experience that's happening to a child, right? More so than just saying a life was lost, right? These words that are used to describe the horrificness of the experience, I think, are very important in being able to contextualize in your mind what that experience actually is, right? Like, for example, when people talk about the flood, they're like, well, God was wiping away the sins of the people. But now when you start to think about all the floating babies, right, blue and bloated in the water.
I know, wow, it's so emotional,
One second. It's not about emotion. It's about reality, right? Being fed on by sharks in the water and rotting, right?
Life.
The idea. One second. I'm almost done. Just dude, you gotta look. Decorum.
What you do with that life and how that life functions.
I hear you. You're being highly emotional.
You're entitled.
You're being incredibly emotional. We're just having a discussion.
I'm not being emotional. You can't do the emotional black guy. I'm saying to you, you are entitled.
You're entitled
that you feel like you can tell God what to do.
I'll let you go. Tell me when you're done.
Yeah, you're so entitled that you believe that you can tell God what to do. What is right, what is wrong. You take this elementary deductive reasoning you learned at some flapjack university, and you sit up and say, well, you know what, I'm going to apply a term to what you say, and so therefore I'm going to say this term, and this term is going to prove that what you're doing is not valid and it's incorrect, and I can maintain my position. So
What
that's
does your
what
position have to do with validity? I didn't say anything about validity.
God kills people and He gives life. God creates the heavens. He creates the earth. He creates diseases. He creates.
Wait, why did you just invoke validity out of curiosity?
And if I see something that God does, I don't like it, I'm going to tell God I don't believe in you because I'm angry.
Wait, what aspect is what I'm saying have anything to do with
why
believing
does that
in a
baby
God?
have to die, God? Why does that baby have to die, God? Why can't
Rabbi, look,
I want to see the world, God?
If we could tone it back just a little bit so we could have a conversation.
No,
so,
this is
you
what I'm saying.
said
This is the mentality of these kids protesting at these universities.
Look,
this is what I want.
Rabbi,
this is the way I want the world to be.
Rabbi, if
I
we
don't
could
get
take
it,
a
I'm
step
going
back
to
and just
complain. And I'm
continue
going
having
to
the conversation as opposed to what you said.
mediocre, Eurocentric, debate style, and then I'm going to say my point maintains itself.
Rabbi, let's take like 10 steps back, right, and respond to the actual questions that we're asking one another, right? Because everything you did there wasn't helpful. It was just kind of ridiculous, right? What you mentioned validity. You said I'm providing like an invalid argument. What was invalid in what I was saying? Like, what was the logical structure that I was violating in what I was saying? You said I was making an invalid argument.
Let me ask you this. Do you believe you have a soul?
That you can't possibly answer
I'm
the
asking
question.
I'm asking you.
I'm going to mute up until you answer that question of what
I'm answering your question. Do you believe you have a soul?
You can't answer a question with a question.
So wait.
I'm asking you for.
Do you believe you have a soul? Yes or no?
Rabbi, again, I asked you a specific question.
No, I'm asking.
I'm
answering your question. I'm answering your question. Do you believe you have a soul?
I will answer your questions when you answer mine, Rabbi. I said, what was
I am answering it. I'm answering. This is
make whatever assumption you want. That's fine. But I asked you a very specific question.
There's no conversation. That proves my point.
So validity, right, is when the premises in a syllogism don't follow to the conclusion, right?
This is part of this mediocre deductive reasoning again.
Well, it's not.
Deductive reasoning. Do you believe you have a soul? Yes or no?
Well,
that's
so just to help you there.
If you say no,
look,
there's no point to have a conversation.
Again, look.
There's no point to have a conversation. You're going to use this mediocre.
You're using that I don't understand.
Education, right? And you're going to sit up here and try to talk to me about and say, hey, you know what? You're not bringing. You don't like my recognition. That's what I said. You don't have a background for me to explain this to you because
you're just repeating yourself, Rabbi. At this point,
I don't need to defend myself. It doesn't matter if you believe in it or not.
You're repeating the same points, and you're not.
It doesn't matter if you believe it or not.
Let me put it to you this way, just really quickly, right?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
So if I don't believe, Rabbi, if I could just say something really quickly. I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, I promise, but you're using words that you don't understand the meaning of. Racism.
Okay. That's
so there's nothing about. So just a second, I'll tell you.
I don't understand the meaning of it.
No, I'm telling you specifically, right? So I explained. Rabbi, are we having a conversation or not?
Not really.
You're just talking through me.
Not really. No, we're not really having a conversation.
So then, for the rest of the room. Right. So what he was saying was, I was asking him about. He made a very specific statement that the argument I was making was invalid. When I asked him what was invalid about the structure, and I explained to him how a valid argument is created, he then said that I'm just using. He then said, "Wait 1 second." He then said that I'm using deductive reasoning when I'm defining what a valid sentence structure, a valid syllogism means.
No,
right?
I reject your narrative.
Which has nothing to do with deduction, right? So I don't know where you're going because you're using words that you don't understand the meaning of.
I very well know the words that I'm saying.
So then what does deduction mean and why are you applying it to validity?
The reason why you're saying it is because you have this fake pseudo-intellectual expression where you think that you can, one, dictate to me how to communicate, and two, that you have some superior knowledge of these definitions that I don't know how to use. And you do. No.
So then explain to me validity, please, Rabbi.
You're not in that position.
So what does validity mean, Rabbi?
You're not in that position. You lack understanding, right? And the little academia that you learned with your parents' money, Okay, has nothing to do with.
Yeah, these are all things I like to say. Right? I don't understand why they get brought up.
No, because I'm showing you how. I'm showing you how cookie cutter.
Do you think that you're making a good representation of yourself on stage the rest of the
Yeah. I am.
Really? So you think that your sentence that you just said about daddy's money
I'm not part of your.
was a good representation?
I'm not part of your white presentation. Okay?
Now it's a white thing.
I'm not a part
he doesn't
of
know
your
what I am,
white
but now it's a white thing.
I'm not a part of your white presentation.
Wait, why do you think that I'm white?
You're not in a position to critique anything about me.
He's just all. I mean, you're all
you've accomplished nothing in your life. You've accomplished nothing in your life. You're on this little chat room with me.
Guys, is this not embarrassing? I don't understand.
No. You're not.
Charlie, could you take control for a second? Because I don't know where this is going.
Embarrassing to what?
Yeah, let's not put ad hominems. You know?
I mean, it's like every other thing he's saying is that I don't understand what he's doing here.
I don't care what you understand.
I went to college with daddy's money and I'm white.
You have no authority. You have no authority. That's what I'm saying to you. You have no authority to dictate.
I'm sorry the arguments are
you have no authority to dictate.
I don't know why you're taking.
You have no authority to dictate conversations. You have absolutely no power whatsoever.
He's not going to stop.
You have no power. You have no power whatsoever. That's what I want you to understand. You have no power to dictate.
Okay, no, let's relax. Ad hominems are not relevant, and let's get back to the main debate.
I appreciate you, Charlie.
Informative.
Yeah, it's just again.
The key thing you should understand. You don't have the ability to dictate definitions. You don't have the ability to dictate this discourse. You have the ability to dictate nothing. Okay? Nothing. You are in no position. You do not have more information than I do. You're not at a higher level than me. You have not accomplished more than me. You have not done anything. So what I'm saying to you is you have to understand when you're engaging in a conversation with me that you have no power whatsoever. Okay? Now, if you want to have a discussion from the premise that you have an idea and you want to share that idea and get a response from it, that's cool. But you're not dictating anything. You have no information. Right? You could share something that inspires you.
I really don't know how to have a debate discussion.
Okay, but you don't have any information. That's what I'm saying to you. You don't have any information. You have some little Eurocentric University crackerjack deductive reasoning, right? And you're trying to apply that to someone who's a master. Okay? You're not in that position.
Wait, so
that's what I'm saying to you. So I'm saying to you, I'm taking my time. I'm taking my time out to let you know that you have no power. You have no power to define anything. Nothing. Okay? Nothing.
Rabbi, what do you like? Just take a breath. What are you doing?
No. Again, you don't even have the ability to tell me nothing. That's the point. You do not have the ability to tell me anything. I want you to understand. I want you to get that into your little bitty brain. You do not have the ability to tell me anything.
Rabbi, this is really embarrassing.
You cannot tell me anything. You're not in a position to dictate
anything.
I'll
be quiet until you're done. And then
you understand that. You're not in a position to dictate anything. Nothing. You can't tell me I'm this. You can't tell me I'm that. You have no ability to define anything about my existence, right? And then when you understand that, that is the beginning of having a discourse. You're in no position of power. Nothing.
Okay, Charlie, did he say anything there, you think, that was a response to what I said with what he just said there?
No, it's appeal to authority. You know?
Kind of embarrassing, right? He's not really responding to any of the points.
Yeah.
You say, like, I'm not trying to...
I just want you to know, I took a little time out of my day, and I want you to realize that you have no power to define anything. And whoever told you that lied to you and pumped your ego up to make you feel that you have the ability to define anything. You don't have the ability to define what God does. You don't have the ability to define what I do. You don't even have the ability to even fully define what you do yourself, right? So my point to you is to say, grow up, right? Grow up and leave this sickness, right? Leave this sickness you contracted in Western society that gives you the thought, the entitlement to believe that you have the ability to dictate anything that you see. Anything that you see. You're only an observer. That's it. You're not a dictator. You're not an enforcer. You're not a labeler. You're only an observer, right? That's it. And a person who told you you're anything other than that distorted your inner self, right? It distorted your inner self where you believe that you can tell another man what he's doing, how he should conduct himself, that you can tell him on his definitions of words and ideas. So that's a distortion, and it's a sickness that's existed in Western society, mostly by white people for millennium. Okay?
I'm white.
So, it's a sickness. It's a sickness that you guys have within yourself, that when you call someone white and you call someone black, that person who's being called white is being deformed into something that's unempathetic to someone else, right? And so that being unempathetic gives you the personality where you believe you can step on me and you can talk to me and you can talk down to me. It's a sickness, okay? And now the financial structure has changed. So you're no longer in power, okay? You can no longer say, boy, shut up. You can't do that. So I'm telling you now that you have no power. You have no ability to dictate anything to me or anyone else, or even dictate what you see God does, right? Because you're not in a position of power, okay? You're not. And whoever told you that distorted who you are.
So guys, just for a quick clarification, this was all in response to me asking him what he meant by my argument was invalid in structure. And I was
no. And what it came to was you disrespecting me. When it came with you disrespecting me, telling me that my definitions about life and my definitions about spirituality and my definitions about what's going on is incorrect. And you said to me that I'm using words that I don't understand. So now you have to get checked. Okay? Now you have to get checked because you're not in a position to check anything.
Somebody, come on.
Okay? You're not in a position to check anything. And I'm saying to you because you are a white person, right? That you need to really look at the sickness.
Wait, why do you think pause.
It gives you the ability to feel entitled.
Why do you think that I'm white? You keep saying that. Why do you think that I'm white?
Because of your personality.
There's a white personality?
Yes.
That's a weird thing to say.
No, it's not. It's reality. It's an entitled perspective that feel that they can dictate the other. You could be dark-skinned and have a white mentality too.
No. What you very specifically said was that I'm white.
You were white. Yes, you were white.
It's incredibly racist thing to say.
Well, that's what you are. You may be Asian, but you're white in your mind.
I'm white. I may be Asian, but I'm white internally. Okay.
In your mind, in your thinking process.
You're not coming off melanin.
It doesn't matter. Again, you're dictating what reality is. That's part of the whiteness.
No,
but you are not in a position to dictate.
The question that you were. Let me rephrase the question one more time. What I was very specifically asking you
don't mute me.
You said that the sentence structure I was using was invalid, and then I asked you I asked you what about it was invalid, right? Because invalid has a specific definition. And then you said I'm using deduction when you weren't even answering what invalid meant or deduction meant. You're not understanding terms, and instead all you're talking about now is that I'm white or I'm Chinese or white. And your own people in here are thinking you're insane. Like
nobody. Shut up. Okay, you're not playing one against the other, right?
It's not one against the other.
And I don't have any people. I don't have any people here. And the point that I'm saying to you is, again, I just want you to.
I think some other people want to go. Let them go.
I want you to hear that you don't have any power.
So guys, remember, I'm white on the inside.
You have no right to
remember that. I'm white internal.
Define anything for anyone else. You have no power to define anything for anyone else. And the fact that you believe that is because you have a sickness inside you. It's a sickness. That's what I'm saying to you.
All right, let's let somebody else go now. Who wants to go?
You're not dictating anything.
Welcome to the room, John. Well, he's already been here. Barbie, how you doing?
Hey, what happened?
I don't know. I'm very unsure.
Why are you guys fighting?
I wasn't trying to. I don't know.
No, I told this guy that he has no power to define what I say, how I conduct myself, or what I do. That's what I told him. He has no power to do that. And the fact that he feels that he has the power to do that is part of the sickness that exists in Western society by people.
Rabbi, please stop repeating the same thing over and over again. Like, if you've said it already, I'm telling you, wait, I'll repeat it back to you. You said it's a sickness.
I understand it.
That I can't define anything for you or words for you. And no matter what I am on the outside, I'm white on the inside. I've heard you. Please stop repeating it. I've heard the rant. You've been going for about 10 minutes saying the same thing over and over. I've heard it.
And you can't stop it. You can't stop it.
Well, why do that?
You can't stop it because I can't. And I want to.
All right, so Charlie Barr,
you have no power.
There's nothing I can
You have no power. You have no power. You have no power. Zero. You have no power to dictate.
It's incredibly embarrassing, though, buddy.
You have no power to dictate anything. Nothing.
Oh, okay.
No one's behavior, no one's tone, nothing. All you can do is observe. You can just observe. You have no ability to dictate.
Are you regretting having modded this man?
I mean, I was just thanking mod because the other mod left, but yeah.
You know, can I interrupt? I've been listening very patiently, and I just want to say, you started out this conversation talking about mana, and I said that Roland is a moron, and that it's all a metaphor. And I still stand by that position, but now I've updated the morons to other people in this room. You're all morons, and I just want to say that the soul just represents the sun. It's Spanish, S-O-L, and you're too literal, and you're literally living in a fantasy world. You're living in the Disney world of fantasy, and I congratulate you for choosing your Disney world of fantasy, but nonetheless, it's still just a fantasy.
I respect that, John. But I want Roland to know that you have no power to dictate or define anything, period, for anybody ever. And for you to take that sickness of entitlement out of your body.
Yeah.
I mean, Roland, let's admit, we're all going to disappear. And, you know, let people choose how they want to represent. Like, for example, this is an African-American man living in Israel. He became a black Larry David. That's his choice. He wanted to do this. It was for fun. It was for truth. It was for love.
First of all, who's Larry David?
He's a Jewish.
You are the black version of Larry David.
No way. You know, I can hear something funny. So one time I was down there.
John. Larry David.
But you gotta admit, this black man in Israel is one of the nicest people you're ever gonna meet. I mean, you wouldn't want to have a Shabbos dinner with this guy. He's awesome. He's a fucking legend. This guy is famous. I don't even know if you know who this guy is, but he's fucking famous.
I don't know about famous, but I was saying this, John. So I was down in Tel Aviv, like months ago, and I was just, I was getting something to eat. I had a meeting down or whatever, and I'm just sitting on this bench deciding where I want, because there's like a few kosher places down there, so I'm looking around. So this old man comes up like hobbling, and he was like walking somewhere, and he saw me, and he comes and sits next to me on this bench. He's you American? I'm like, yeah. And so he just starts like, oh, his face like lifts up, and he starts talking to me about jazz music. This guy must have been like in the 70s. He's like talking about jazz music, but he said, you're not the only black Jew. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, Sammy Davis Jr. And I was just like, and I just started cracking up, but it was just like,
that's a terribly boring story.
Well, he left out the part. He left out the part where he also said Miles Davis is Jewish. I bet you didn't know that.
I didn't know that. Is that a real thing?
I made it up, but let's go with it.
Oh, okay. All right. Anyway, Roland, you don't have the ability to define. I'm trying to cure you. I'm just like don't try to define. Just accept, observe, and just be okay with that. You don't have to define. You don't have to exert will, right? That's not holy, right? Observing, accepting, hey, maybe you agree, maybe you don't. Is it important for me to say it? Do that deduction process. But this other stuff we learned in university, this is not going to help you. It's not going to help you, and it's not going to let you connect with anything.
So guys, I think it's time for this little cowboy to mosey on. I don't think there's any good discussion to be had here anymore. But I wish I could say that I think you've grown from this experience, but I don't think that you have. But I'll catch you all later. John, always a pleasure. Talk to you later.
You still think it? You gotta cure yourself.
Hello? Hello? Where'd the Black Larry David go? Hello?
That's crazy. Oh my God! Even one of the episodes, they said his sidekick dude or whatever, they would mix up their sperm and like play a Russian roulette and try to see whose baby it is. Oh God.
Like, bro, okay, $1 million up front, and then $1 million over the course of the child's lifetime. How many women in fucking Ecuador or whatever the fuck, Africa are signing up for that deal? That's an amazing deal. You get to have a famous billionaire's kid, and he just sends you like a tube full of his jizz in the mail.
Now, somewhere in Asia, they were like paying this man to fly over the whole hotel stay. Like he had to fill up like 500 miles or something, and until he filled it up, couldn't leave, but everything was being paid for.
Yeah, how long would it take to fill 500 miles? That would take me a year, bro.
No, now every time I look at somebody and they look like they're from Sweden or something, I'm like, I know who that is. It's very distinctive, blonde hair, curly blue eyes.
How tall is this guy?
I'm not sure. I'm not going. He's out female. 6'3", 6'4".
Alright. Yeah, because if you're doing that, you're not getting like a 5'2" manlet.
Yeah, it was the hair, because it's like down to the shoulders.
Bro, nobody cares. Like, you think we're on this like bipartisan stuff, bro. Like, we don't care. I'm actually an accelerationist. I want Biden to win. Put as many dumb regulations as possible. Adopt the Keynesian economics theory. Let's go, baby. Nobody's crying. That's the thing. I'm not a bipartisan hack.
So you guys think Obama caused Libya or France?
You blame Obama for everything. You blame black people for everything.
Oh, now you're gonna make it a race.
No, I'm just carrying stuff in my hands, but as soon as I drop off, he's gone.
Obama's so sexy. Trying to get rid of Frederick.
No, I think she was talking about you.
I know.
He doesn't have
Obama greatest man.
All he says
Bro, I'm pro open border. You're talking to the wrong person.
All he says is Republican bad.
Let the immigrants come in. I'm all good.
Alright, that was a nice commercial break. Can we go back to the conversation?
Right, c'est la chanson anthem of France, I think. Parlons de la patrie, jour de gloire est arrivé.
You guys see your French national
Good accent.
Have you seen your French national team in the World Cup in the Euros? They're all mostly black. You guys will cry. France, you guys will cry. Mostly black.
How dare you, Odie?
What is that?
That's racist.
What does that mean? I'm a racist.
You're a black American. Deal with it.
I'm not.
You are. No, you are not. You are not. You are black American.
That's right. I went to an orgy house in France in 2011. Those things still exist. Have the Muslims taken over? I went to an orgy house like that.
So Oli, so you lived in France from when to when? Oh my God.
In France from August to October for the duration of the UNESCO conference. It was 3 months.
I'm sorry to hear that.
So, and did you live in Paris?
I lived in the suburb of Paris where the embassy had a house, where our mission had it.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Why?
Simon, if you do want to be again, I'm sure it's not.
He has like that, like Naveen has like that accent or just like sorry, it's like all in one word.
I don't care. So Oli, so it was 3 months enough to gain your experience to experience then the whole French thing.
Yeah, that's all it is. I lived in France for a month and a half. My house was about to get robbed.
What experience are you talking about? I went there for a walk. I also walked. How do your microphone is not good? You must have Bluetooth on or something. Yeah,
It's not my French.
It's not working. You gotta upgrade your internet.
Yeah, get la fibre d'orange.
They did. I lived there for 3 months. They need some more undersea cables. I used to work for IOM. I don't know what IOM is, Aïssa?
Oui, on t'entend.
Mais tu as dit, c'est comment non?
Damn, getting kicked like a villain. John Kitover and Tiffany Sotheby is now no longer a friend, apparently. Okay, this is the sad truth about Clubhouse friends. I've been recently getting kicked from rooms. And I want to say a lot of people have had like emotional journeys on this app where they thought they had what they call these things called friends through what's called a social audio chit chat app. But the truth is, no one here is your friend in real life because you don't hang out with them on Friday nights or Saturdays or do anything with them other than have totally irrelevant, useless discourse. And I want to point that out, that feeling sad or blue about, getting kicked or sent to the goo or running at the mouth and saying nothing or shouting down people trying to say something. This is the sad truth about Clubhouse friends. Persona non grata.